Hey guys, today we're gonna go over my tips on how to get into wedding photography. So my first tip is grow your portfolio. And I would suggest maybe finding a couple that you know, whether that be friends or family, start taking pictures of them, and that way you'll get experience with shooting with a couple. Even if they're not dressed in wedding attire, you'll still have those couple pictures to be able to post and advertise on your pages and website and whatever you have so far for your business. Another way to build your portfolio is through styled shoots. So I just realized styled shoots were a thing in like maybe the past year or so. I found out about these styled shoots on Facebook. There's a couple styled shoot groups. If you just type in styled shoots in Facebook and go to the groups column, you'll see a bunch of them listed, but there's two main ones that There's a couple main ones that you'll see probably pop up first. So if you go into there, you can also just post in there, hey, are there any styled shoots happening in, whatever area you're in? And also you can just set up your own with people you know, or I've heard of people finding models off of Instagram and things like that as well. So that would be a good idea too. So my second tip is try to be a second shooter at a wedding. And even if you don't get to keep these images, because sometimes if you're second shooting for the primary photographer, they won't allow the second shooter to edit and keep those images for their own advertisement. Whether they will let you edit the images you take to post or not, it's still really good experience to see how a wedding day works, how that photographer is interacting with the couples, with the bridal party, and just kind of how they handle the whole day in general. So even if you don't get to keep the images and post them, that would just be a bonus if you did, you will still be getting good wedding day experience and hopefully learn some things from that photographer. So my next tip is to make dedicated social media pages for your photography business. So instead of just posting these images that you take on your personal page or personal Instagram, you want people to know that, hey, I am actually starting a business for this and I want to get clients. The images I'm posting aren't just like a one-time little shoot. Like, I want to grow this. So just make sure that you're setting up a separate Facebook and Instagram away from your personal accounts. Okay, and my next tip is find your local wedding pages on Facebook. So for example, I live in Missouri. So if I were to just type in on Facebook, Missouri weddings or Missouri wedding groups, and I looked at the different groups that come up, there's one that's called like Missouri wedding resale and Missouri wedding vendors and just things like that. And there are a lot of people that post in there almost on a daily basis looking for photographers and videographers. So in your area, there are more than likely wedding groups that you can go in and join and try to maybe comment on some posts of people looking for photographers. And I have seen before people being on like a tight budget and looking for beginner photographers just because their budget only allows for a beginner price range. So that would be a good thing to look into. So my next thing is, after you've already established a portfolio, after you've got a few clients, it might be a good time to get a website. This is just my personal opinion, but I think companies in general look way more professional when they have an actual website. And I don't mean one of the free websites, which you can totally start out with a free website. But after a little while, after you start getting more established, after you start getting more business, I would really take your website seriously so people will take you more seriously. As far as camera gear goes, I wouldn't worry too much about getting like the biggest, nicest camera available. I started out with a Canon T3i, which is not that great of a camera. I grew my photography business with that camera. And I had that camera for years before I upgraded. Eventually I had to upgrade because I could noticeably tell the quality difference between that camera and other cameras. And also I was getting into videography, so I had to get a good camera that would shoot good video as well. So now I use a Canon R6 and a Canon 1DX Mark II. And by no means do you have to start out with those higher priced cameras. I would suggest maybe just buying a camera that you can afford and just kind of play around with it, get to know it, and make sure that this is even the direction that you want to go in. You don't want to be out thousands of dollars buying all this equipment and then realize, I don't even want to pursue photography or something like that. So I would just suggest buying what you can afford and just practice with that. Okay, so those are my top tips on getting started with wedding photography. I hope it helped you guys a little bit to get started. And if you're watching this and you have been doing wedding photography for a while, I would love to see comments on what you would suggest to other photographers and maybe some things that I missed. And make sure to subscribe if you want to see more photography and videography videos. And I will see you in the next one.